How about passing it down? Are we on?
Pass it down, share.
Yeah. Are we on?
You're all set.
I'm going to call this council workshop for January 21st, 2009 to order at 7:20. My apologies to the public and the people at home. The non-public went a little bit longer than what we had anticipated. So my apologies there. This evening, we have a couple of councilors out, Councilor Bergeron, Councilor Quox, and Councilor Minatelli. Not sure if they all drank from the same cup, but they're not feeling well, so they're not going to be here this evening, and they are excused. First item on the agenda is Veterans Committee's conceptual design of the War Memorial. And Mrs. Rosa, if you would come to the podium, and I'm going to ask that we try to limit this to 5 minutes.
We're easy. It's you guys. It's your questions if you have them.
Actually, I kind of like the idea.
Oh, thank you.
No, I don't really, myself don't have any. We'll ask the council.
Hi, Janice Rosa, Newmarket Veterans Committee Chair. And Dana, if I may, just mention 2 announcements for our committee. We have 2 events coming up. Take this time.
Yeah,
since we
sure,
don't have
go right
TV.
ahead. Yeah.
On January 24th, which is this Saturday at 2 p.m., we're having a discussion series of life on the home front during World War II. And we have asked any Newmarket citizen of Newmarket who lives here if they're interested in coming down and sharing on the discussion. We look forward to them, and it'll be up here in the Town Council chambers, and that's 2 o'clock on the 24th. February 3rd, we're having a fundraiser at Riverworks. It starts at 5 p.m. up in the dining room, and 10% they have agreed to of the profit would be donated to our Memorial Trust Fund, which we're using to raise to the fundraiser for our new memorial. And one thing, so we can leave afterwards, our committee supports the new application, and I wish he was here tonight because he has such a, you're going to be voting on a membership. He's a West Point graduate. He's a 10-year veteran of the Army, and
He was in Afghanistan.
yeah, and I just think, and he brings to us the expertise in the RFPs, which is what we definitely need. And so we told him as soon as you vote on him, we're going to hand him over everything, so he's going to handle it. So we're very excited. And how he came across to us was that he saw us at one of the fundraising events this summer at Old Home Weekend. So all our efforts paid off at Old Home Weekend, going out doing public relations. Tonight we're here for a different reason.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yep.
Can you give me the January date again, because my lead broke and
Sure.
I just didn't get a chance to write it.
January 24th, which is this Saturday,
Okay.
at 2 p.m. in the Town Council chambers. And if there's any elderly citizens out there who needs a ride, please feel free to call any one of the members of our committee. We'll come and pick them up. Okay?
And do we have this on Channel 13?
Yes, we do have a public notice up there.
And can we get it on the marquee?
Yeah, it's on the marquee, and we placed 2 ads in the newspapers, but it's nice to have the television.
Okay.
A little boost for us. And
And
February 3rd is our fundraiser at Riverworks.
And as far as the nomination, I've gotten some calls from councilors who are out this evening, and I know some of the people here in the audience. It is my intention not to vote on any of these nominations tonight because some of the councilors want to be here to cast their vote.
Okay.
And I apologize, we're going to move it back to the February workshop.
Okay.
And there is, it's quite mixed, so that's the reason why I'm going to move it. What was
Okay.
that? I'm sorry?
We can do it at the business meeting.
More than likely, it will be at the workshop, because the business meeting is really building up.
Okay, thanks for
Okay.
letting us know. I'll
Yeah.
still give him the information so he can be working on it. Now, what I'm going to do is we have the proposal for you to discuss. Would that be voted on tonight, too? Or are you going to hold that off?
No, I don't see why we can't
Oh,
vote on
good,
that.
okay.
No,
And
no.
I'm going to turn
We
this...
have a quorum.
Okay, I'm going to turn this part over to Wayne, so he's a member of our trust committee, so if you have any construction, excavation type of questions, he's better to answer those than I am. And I'm going to turn that portion over to him, okay? And I'm sorry I'm talking fast, but I
No,
want to get in
you're fine.
5 minutes.
You're fine. Thank you, Janice.
Thank you for hearing us tonight.
Hi, Wayne Rosa, member of the Veterans Committee. We're here 340 Wadley Falls Road.
Thank you.
We're here, I assume everybody has a plan.
Yes.
This is a conceptual plan for the Civil War memorial located at the, right across from Flora Ventures. I think what we'd like to do is put in 2 steps, a railing, some brickwork, dress it up. It will make it a little more accessible, and I think it'll show real well. Any questions?
Councilor Pawlowski?
I like the concept, but I have some, I consider very serious concerns. Number of years ago, a bunch of us did clean up in that area, and I was up climbing on that rock, and the rock is relatively difficult to get up on as is, and I feel that bringing this closer could possibly cause 2 scenarios. One, vandalism to the memorial itself, which I definitely don't want to see. And secondly, children and/or others climbing up on the rock, slipping and falling, and end up bringing a lawsuit to the town. I see the need to dress this up a bit, but I am really concerned about the safety of more of people climbing up on the rock and having an accident and then developing a lawsuit to the town. And that is a very serious concern.
We thought of that. If you'll notice, there's proposed cast iron fence posts down in the left-hand corner there. We tried to restrict, I mean, it's a conceptual plan. If someone would like something a little bit different, but we did try to think of that to keep people, to separate. So that is the reason for that fence. It's not, again, this is conceptual. It's not set in stone at this point. If you want to see I think it was 18 inches we came up with. If you'd like it a little higher, we can do something different. But I do think that this is, it's very hard to read the letters. They're very, very small. It's hard to read. There's been, I think yourself have gone up there and tried to dress it up, but it just never seems to work. And I think that this will really show this off, and people will see it a little better.
Excuse me, Mike. Can we do this? Can we take your copy or a copy and post it up on that board so the public, and if Chris downstairs would zoom in on that, so the public has some type of idea of what it looks like. Go ahead, Mike. You can finish. You all set? Thank you.
The 2 steps up, going up to the memorial itself, what is the rise on those?
8 inches.
8 inches. So you're talking a 16-inch rise from ground level?
From sidewalk.
From
Now,
the sidewalk level.
There is a grade on the sidewalk.
Right.
So as you can see, the grade, the sidewalk heads towards Main Street. So it'll be, but it'll be made up in the brickwork there.
And actually, I'm going to get up to point to this one so the people can see what I'm talking about. I know it's not the clearest of pictures. But this mound here, I believe, is all concrete.
Correct.
Do you have any idea how far down that goes?
No. I think it's just capped.
It's just capped, okay. Would doing just an 8-inch rise?
8, is it 2 8-inch?
No, doing 1 instead of 2. Doing a 1 step up, still bring you close enough for viewing ease?
Yeah. I don't see a problem with that.
it would make it 8 inches more difficult for someone to climb up.
The only thing I question is whether or not that'll give you enough height to read the names, but 8 inches isn't that much, so.
Well,
Yeah.
I do understand that we want the names to be seen, that's the whole purpose.
Right.
And that's why I made the suggestion of maybe just 8 inches rather than the 16, the one step rather than two.
I actually had a thought on that, too.
Another option is possibly just dressing this mound of concrete and actually putting can't think of the word anymore. Posting what the names are on it at a level. So you have a nice document encased in glass, whatever, off to the side, so that can be read indicating what the names are that are actually on the memorial. That way, not having the proximity to go up and touch the memorial, but knowing what those names are. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that might be another something that could be looked at in the concern for safety.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
Councilor LaBranche?
I understand Councilor Plosky's concerns and everything, and I guess I would have the same concerns if this wasn't already in place, when you stop and think about it. The monument is already there, and quite honestly, I mean, growing up as a kid, I climbed those rocks all the time. Don't tell my mother, but, if it was something that was brand new, I might think of the vandalism issue, I might think of the safety concerns, but the location, I mean, there's traffic that goes by there, there's traffic that stops at that stoplight, so, I mean, if something's going on there.
It's visual.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the better visual places in town. So, I do understand your concerns, but where it's basically been there since I can remember, I don't know if that would be an issue at this point.
My concern is more for safety than it is for vandalism. Vandalism is a minor concern, and visibility should take care of that.
I'm all set.
Okay. I have a question. You have a question on this at all? Okay. Wayne, what I'm looking at is there's the sidewalk, and then there appears to be some brick going in, and the brick will be flush with sidewalk?
Correct.
Okay, so that's a little area.
So that's one of the first things that Rick asked me.
Yeah.
He looked and I said, it's not going to interfere with your sidewalk for plowing, so it's not going to infringe on
That
that.
would be Rick.
And I don't blame him.
Yeah. And now, those two steps, you go up, and when you get to the top step, I'm assuming that's a platform with brick around there?
Correct.
Okay. So in essence, you really need that second step to give that height to walk onto that platform area. Because I was thinking, as what Councilor Pulaski was, if you took out that second layer of steps, you would have a larger platform area, but no, I guess I'm going back to the scenario of, I think the two steps, aesthetically, it would look better.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Now,
I do understand where he's coming from, but I was in that mode thinking that way, and then I got said to myself, that second step, you're actually walking right into a brick area. Right. And that allows you to get right up face with the monument to read the names.
Correct.
I like this question.
Well,
Is there
within
that much
3 or
room in
4
there to
feet.
do that? Huh?
within 3 or 4 feet.
3 or 4
Within
feet.
the distance of that piece of concrete, which is, I don't know, 3 feet or so.
And then my other question is the fence post. Are you looking to put just the poster, or is there gonna be a fence there also? And will the fence, if there is, and will the post be in design with the rest of the town as far as what we've done on the waterfront? Will they be that same type of post?
If you look down below, again, this is conceptual.
Yep.
We
Oh, this is a
proposed,
chain, okay.
right,
Yeah, it's
we
just a-
proposed a 1-by-1,
Post with a
2-by-2 piece of square stock with a something fancy on the top, and perhaps some chain. Now, if that wants to be a fence about that high, we can do that. Again, this is conceptual, so
Yeah.
everybody can,
Well, that's the other concern I have. If we vote on this tonight, we're voting on the conceptual. Then you're gonna have to come back if you make changes again?
well, I think what we'd like to do is.
I don't want to be voting on the conceptual and have it change somewhere down the road when we know we voted on the conceptual plan. This, when you say conceptual, theoretically, it could change dramatically, but we only voted on a conceptual design.
Correct, and I think that what they're trying to do is the council in favor of the plan, the conceptual plan, so that they can then begin to move forward to scope out the costs for the whole thing, and probably come back and say, these are the type of posts that we're going to be putting in the concrete. and
We have
the-
that
and the
already.
fence
They've
and-
already told us that.
Correct, so, I mean, on one hand, you could approve the conceptual and have them move forward, giving them the guidance that you would like the post to match what is downtown, so that there is a consistency there. And there's granite and there's brick, which is what we have in.
Let me ask it this way. As a conceptual plan as you're proposing now, do you see, if we agree to this tonight, do you see anything dramatically changing that would make it change?
That's a good question. The only thing that we can see that, right now, that could change is we've used a granite block design. And we sort of designed that for ease of, because of where the site is located. It's a hard site to work. So if you're setting large pieces of granite, you're tying up traffic, so we thought, Mike Seavitt and I thought that perhaps we would work with smaller blocks. However, if that proves to be too expensive, we do have a budget, so if that proves to be too expensive, we may go with larger pieces of granite. So that's something that could change.
And I don't see that as an issue. When I say change conceptually, you may take the brick out, you may take the granite out,
No.
and put something totally different in there. That would be a change, in my opinion, that would be a change because of a cost factor versus total change in conceptual design. It's more of a cost factor, so I don't have a problem with that. One thing about the chain link, I like that idea, but if we're looking at safety, would it be better off to put a low-rise fence? It's more solid, and if somebody should be up there, slips, slides, falls, it'll prevent them from going any further down.
No, this is on the,
This is up here. I'm looking at this as it is right here, which is right
I
here.
know, but it's on the,
On the what?
the side, it doesn't protect the stairs.
Well, where is this right here?
You go up the 2 stairs, and then this
That would be in front of you.
would be in front of your monument.
Oh, okay, I saw that wrong. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
You have to remember that if you can visualize the monument, the pad, the concrete pad slopes down, and then it also slopes down again. So you're not going to be getting that much closer. You're still probably going to be a foot to 18 inches away from where that fence is going to be. So, you'd have to make another step up to get onto that flat, sloped concrete.
Maybe that's what I missed was the depth,
You have
Yep.
you have a center handrail
yeah.
that goes up the stairs in the middle, but the other is just a,
Well, what I thought was, here's the monument, and it was, because it is like this on the slant, that you were gonna dig in and have it
No,
be able to
no.
go. Okay, that's why I was saying
no.
somebody might fall.
No, the piece of concrete would stay.
Well, I will say this, in this design, the way I see it right now, I don't really have a problem.
A couple of other things. I've talked to Rick, and there is a small amount of excavation. He will work with us. It's probably, to prepare this site, probably a couple hours' worth of work. So he has no problem with it. Tito Bolia was at our last week's meeting, and he mentioned, because Janice had sent this all to all the committees involved, and being on the Hand Tub Association, he came, and he said that the bricks they used, they still have a pallet or two left up at the
Ta-da.
town. So he said, to match, can you use those? So I have not spoke to Rick since, but that's,
Nail him on it before he uses it for something else.
we'll grab them.
Yeah, that's a great offer, that's a good
So-
idea, that's gonna save some
So that
cost.
would match in with everything that they've done over there, and it would flow.
Have you figured out with Rick yet to what the town might be able to do to save some costs for you?
Well, they take out,
The
we have to have a
excavation?
small not a foundation, but we have to have a little bit of prep work done, and he can take care of that. And believe me, it's probably 2 hours worth of work there.
Yeah, but
And
can
a
our people
detail,
lay
you'd
the
need a
brick?
detail, and
Can our people lay the brick?
I'm sure that I'm pretty sure that they're capable of doing that.
Does that make sense to you? No, what I'm trying to do is help reduce your cost.
If they're qualified to do
Yeah.
it.
Well,
I don't
mean,
think that's a
the question
big
that Rick can
cost.
say, well, yeah, we got the manpower, we can do it. I'd rather see your costs come down, keep your money to do for other amenities that you may want to be doing down the road. And if the town can assist in this project, I would not have a problem with that.
I personally, I think it's a masonry thing, and
Could be.
I'm not criticizing the town crew, great guys, but this is a masonry thing, and I
It's
think,
down by the waterfront, it was a masonry that did that
so
too.
I do believe that a mason should
Well,
probably.
let's put it this way, whatever the town can do, and Rick's willing to do it, and the administrator agrees with that, and that just brings me to the point where, Janice, you wrote in here, we will be asking the Public Works for assistance in preparing the groundwork. I don't have a problem with that, but please make sure you get his authority, because that's who Rick answers to, is the administrator, so keep him in the loop too. And he and I had that conversation, he agreed. And we knew where you were coming from, but as a matter of protocol, he does report too, so I don't want to get you in trouble. We have a couple of lights on. You still want to
No,
say something?
almost set,
Okay.
thank you.
And,
At this point, it was just to bring the project
Yep.
idea to the council, to see if they were approved the concept before we went full-fledged
Yep.
into the planning process and in getting estimates for prices.
nope, you did the
Because we
right
didn't want to go through all the work and then be say, well, this isn't what we would like to see. Waste time and energy and everybody's time.
Counselor LeBranch?
When you were talking about the fence post, did I hear you incorrectly? Did you mention that the post may be a wooden style?
No,
Okay.
perhaps a 1x1, 2x2 stock, when I say stock, channel
Okay.
iron.
Galvanized or?
You mentioned
Aluminum or
matching
whatever.
downtown. I think that might be hard to match. You have aluminum fencing downtown, correct?
Yeah, well, some areas, the other areas along the river more, that's steel, isn't it?
Correct, but by the Rivermore, it's steel.
I think it might be hard to match. But, I mean, I have a book at the shop that's probably about this thick that shows different finials that you can put on. I mean, there's thousands of them, so we can dress it up. And again, that's something that, we don't want to get thousands into a plan either. We'd rather, this was a $300 deal here, and we thought, well, we'll go this direction, and maybe we can all build something together. So we don't have a problem with coming back and saying, look, this is the kind of fence we're going to put up. People still like it, and, but no, it's nothing wood, no maintenance.
When
This
you
is,
said stock, that was kind of what threw me a little bit.
no, we want low maintenance.
Okay.
But you're thinking the theme color would be black.
Correct, correct.
Okay, Counselor Pulaski?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the conceptual plans for the Newmarket Veterans Memorial Committee for the Korean?
Civil War.
Civil War Memorial located on Route 152 with final plans to come before council.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Councilor Branch,
Aye.
Councilor Pulaski,
Aye.
Councilor Carr,
Aye.
Chairman Glennon.
Aye. Great job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we can do the pricing.
Yeah.
One minute. Hope we have TV, can we say one more thing?
I don't know about that. Yeah, go ahead.
I was 4 minutes and 30 seconds, so I think I got 30 more seconds, but
Okay, you did.
Just one thing, and it's a little ways away, but we are going to have on May 16th a dedication to the bridge, the Veterans Bridge. We had to wait because of the construction of the downtown, and Rick last year asked us to wait, and we said yes. And so that is being planned for May 16th, and after the dedication, we'll give you more plans, details as we get closer, but after the May 16th dedication of the bridge to all the Newmarket veterans, we are going to have a tribute to those soldiers who were killed in the conflicts here in the town hall. We had some soldiers who were killed in World War II. Not in the town hall, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, can you explain to me how that happened? 'Cause I'm not
Quite
aware
that
of
bad yet, Chad.
I know we got problems here, but they're not that bad.
Some of my brain hasn't still worked right. I'm sorry, some of the soldiers who were killed during the various conflicts starting World War I. World War II, we had a Vietnam veteran, and hopefully we won't have any Iraqi or Afghanistan soldiers who were killed, but we are having a special service downstairs, either up here or downstairs, with photographs, and their families are invited, that we're in the process of working. We have, like Maggie Hassan is been invited to speak at the dedication ceremony for, she was the one who helped sponsor to get that bridge signed for us through the state, and there's a bagpipe player in the works we're trying to get down here. So we are going to be having a nice little ceremony that day, too. And another fundraiser we're working on is a poker run in April. April or May, there's a man who's helping us plan that. It's a motorcycle thing. But because it's going to take us a while to fundraise for that new memorial coming up. And so if anybody is out in the audience, in the TV land, sounds like Channel 64, has any expertise in fundraising, please contact us, because we desperately need someone with the fundraising expertise. So that, because there's only five or six of us, and
Check with Jim Hilton. Sorry, Jim, but
for fundraising, okay, but, you know,
He-
or
he
is
does it all the
Arlen
time.
still here for those little runs that they do? Arlen Chaffee, you know, they do those runs for NCDC, or they left. But we do still want the public to, even though if you may not want to be a committee member, if you have expertise, please contact us, because we won't turn anybody away.
Okay.
Okay? We
Thank
just
you.
want to throw that out now, and we'll give you more information as it gets closer.
you're 15 seconds over, but I'll let it go.
Oh, and,
Oh,
oh, wait, I think this concept will really tie in the whole community, from the police, from the little hand tub down to the pocket park. I think it'll really spruce that up and make it look really sharp in that little area.
I'm wondering also, Janice, while you say that, can we get that on the website and get that on Channel 13 so people have an idea what that concept looks like?
Oh, sure, we can give a
Yeah.
plan to Chris,
Yeah.
or leave one up in the
Should be
town
going
hall.
through the administrator.
Yeah.
But does it sound like a good idea to get that on TV?
Sure.
Yeah. With a little narrative, Yeah.
No, I don't think that's the best I have it.
and Janice had a
I-
little narrative, but please leave out the portion of the fight in the town hall.
The killing of
I
the town
have
Yeah, the
that.
killing of the
I have
town
that, so I
killed here.
work with Chris.
One for her to keep in the records, we have them in our records, but you want one in the town minutes? Or you have one already, okay. Just all these little things.
Thank you.
My brain's still dead. Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I need my.
Sean, you seem to like it here. Now,
Brought his overnight break.
I did read your your memo to me of January 12th and January 14th. And I will say, I got some of it, and some of it I didn't have a clue. But,
You
if
want to go over the booster station first?
Yeah, let's go over that.
Okay, during the end of the ice storm for the booster station, in my memo, we've developed a leak in the 225-gallon storage tank. So what I did immediately is, the water was actually leaking out of the top of it, right? The tank actually extends in the partly in the building and is partly outside of the building underground. So I immediately had Pump Systems come in and put a 200-gallon storage tank in to take its place to temporarily fix it. You know, a 200-gallon storage tank presents problems up there because the pumps are cycling on and off so frequently, it's creating surges on the system, which is causing water quality problems. So I immediately asked three suppliers who we've done business with, who've done very good work for us, to give me some prices. One of them was too busy to give me a price servicing all the people that were having trouble in the ice storm, so they didn't reply. Another one gave me a price, but just for goods only, just for materials only. I asked them to give me a updated price, and they keep trying to come down to meet with me, but they never show up. So,
And you have documentation to support that?
yes, and that's in here. They gave me a price of $15,716 for materials.
No, what I meant was, you have documentation to support the fact that you've been trying to get them to come down
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Scheduled dates, and they're not showing up and all that.
Well, we didn't schedule dates. He called me and said, you know, I'd like to come down tomorrow. I said, come down anytime.
Okay.
You know, and he didn't show up.
And where I'm going with this
Yeah.
is if this goes out to bid and you try to get something and these people are not responding, you might want to include in your narrative to the council on your recommendation to why you're picking one over another,
Yeah.
because this one didn't respond. This is the dates that I tried to set up meetings, so
Yeah.
on and so forth.
This, you know, I'd love to go out to bid for this, but this was such this is an emergency deal here.
Right.
We need to take care of this ASAP, because this pump surging on and off is causing trouble to the system. And it's causing trouble to the people up there, and it could cause trouble to the people's houses with the surging. Because you're seeing pressure swings from 40 PSI up to about 80 PSI.
Okay, who is it affecting?
The residents up on Folsom Drive.
Sean, could you just explain why we have that booster pump station?
Okay, the reason we have the booster pump station is all the people up on Folsom Drive are at such an elevation that the water pressure isn't good enough. The tank and them are kind of at the same level. So at the booster station, the water pressure is 40 PSI coming into the station. So by the time it gets up to them, if we didn't boost the pressure up, they wouldn't have any pressure, especially on second floor sinks. So what we do is we boost that pressure up to about 85, 90 pounds. When the pressure drops to about 65 pounds, the pumps come on and push it back up. When you have a large tank, such as a 2,225-gallon tank, it's easier to maintain that pressure because the tank is able to take a lot of the water use. When you put in a smaller tank, if, you know, a couple people start using water, the tank, there's just not enough to support the system up there. So that's why instead of going and doing a regular bid process, I just called three people quickly who we've done business with and who have done very good by us and said, here's what I need, get me a price. And Water Industries, which is the one that didn't give me the labor, I distinctly, when they came down and met with me, and I showed them everything, I said, you need labor included on that. And they just didn't do it.
So essentially, you did go out
Yeah,
and
he
see.
essentially did. He
You
got-
did. You went
Yes.
out and you got
Yes.
it. And you did
Yes.
not get a favorable response on one.
Yeah.
So, far as-
But if you look at, the 15716, that doesn't include labor.
Right.
Typically, if you do construction, you take all your materials and multiply them by 2, and that's generally what your price is. So they would be around $30,000 if you did that.
Okay.
But the problem I had is Williamson Electric and Water Industries came in with 2 different kinds of equipment. Williamson came in with bigger motors because they found that we've had trouble up there with the power, and we've had amp draws, and we've had a bunch of issues with that station. And so they came in, and currently what's there is 5 horsepower pumps. I can get into this whole issue, but we have a lot of issues up there. So I took their proposals and sent them to the engineers to have them look at them, because I don't want to go back and say, shoot, we put the wrong pumps
Right.
in.
Exactly.
Under that review, as in here, the engineer has determined that the 7.5 horsepower motors are the correct size, and the pumps would have to have some modification according to, because they did basically a count on what's up there for housing, and basically said, all right, if I was designing a booster station from scratch and not looking at anything, this is what we'd need. So the Williamson Electric Motor Service Corporation bid is actually a very good bid, because I spoke with them, and there has to be some modifications to what they put in here, but the price is not going to change. But some of the other issues up there is what has happened is when that booster station, was first put in 1984, the pumps and motors were a lot smaller, and the generator was the correct size, and the electrical service was the right size. At some point, that station had some changes done to it. It had some bigger motors put in than the 1.5s, up to 5. A different control panel was put in, and what that has presented to us is that the actual electrical service right now is too small. The generator is too small, and that's why we're having the electrical issues up at that building. So and I just got the electrical analysis actually at 3:30 this afternoon from the engineer. But what I'm proposing is, currently in my budget, we were supposed to replace this generator this year.
And that was never part of a CIP program?
The generator was put in to replace this past year in this budget. $20,000 is in my budget to replace the
Right, but
generator.
that's what I'm getting at, it's a lump sum that's been put into the budget
Yeah.
versus being $5,000, $10,000 over
Yeah.
a period of time in the CIP program.
Yes,
So that's a big hit to come from the taxpayers all at once, 20,000. Well, I mean, it's not big, but it's a hit.
But what I'm trying to say is that, well, in the CIP, I tried to start putting money away this year for the
Okay.
booster station, because it's 25 years old.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the standard life for that station.
Okay.
So what I'm asking for tonight, because I need to put in a new electrical service, and the new generator, which they're requiring a 30 kW generator, which is twice the size of what's there now, it's not going to fit in the building. Plus, because of codes and everything else, we need spot to put panels and stuff. Panels have to have certain clearances and stuff, so if you're working on a panel and something happens, you can get away from it. So what I'm proposing tonight to let you know is that I'm hoping to be able to have the money come out of CIP for Williamson to come in and put the pumps in and get that done. The other thing I'm looking to do is to remove that generator to get it out of the building. and put a new service in. What will happen in the meantime is if I need a generator because we lose power, is that we use the person we have for emergency generator service and have them come in and hook one up as a temporary use. And then properly size and locate a generator outside that building.
And house it,
It'll be a self-contained unit. It will not need a house.
so you're not looking to make any modification to the current structure to make it bigger or anything like that?
No, no.
So you would have more room inside that structure for the panel and for moving around.
Correct. Correct.
That, to me, would be a safety issue right there. to
That's
consider
exactly
that.
it.
Right.
But what's happening now is, I was originally gonna come here tonight and ask for 26.5 for Williamson Electric, and then turn around and ask for 20% to handle some incidentals. But I'm looking at, I haven't even got an electrician in to look at and figure out putting a new service in, and actually disconnecting the generator so we can hopefully figure out I think that's something we could probably get out ourselves.
So go back to, if you would, the process of what you need to do sequentially to achieve the goal that you want to do. So we have an idea of what it is and anticipated cost as it relates to that process.
I've been thinking about this since I just got the electrical thing this afternoon.
Okay.
I thought about if you guys could give me a ceiling, say $33,000 not to exceed, or if it's better if I spend it out of my budget now and then come back to you for the amount that it costs to actually update that station.
Well, that's a little tricky.
Yeah,
Very
that's what I'm saying. But
Sort of like let me have the credit card and.
no, I'm not asking for the credit card. That ain't,
No, no.
no,
I'm not
by no
saying a
means.
credit card,
Yeah,
just a scenario
no,
process.
no. What I'm trying to say is I'm gonna try and do this job the best I can.
Oh, I'm sure you are. I have no
And I'm
doubt
not
about
gonna
that.
go out and buy the cream to the crop. What I'm trying to say is Williamson right now is 26.5.
Yep.
The electrician's gonna have to come in and put in a electrical service, a new panel.
And you don't have an inkling of what a cost of that might be and how extensive. On those plans you got today, were you able to figure out, is it a major project?
I didn't get, what I got today was from the engineer, which described all the deficiencies that are in that station. So what I'm saying is probably the best thing to do now is to say 26.5 plus 20%, which would be approximately $32,000. And I don't think that's asking too much when you figure out what has to be done there. And I wouldn't spend a dime over that. And if I can get under it, I will try and get under it.
And you're saying now this money's coming from where?
I would request that it comes from CIP, because the booster station is a part of the CIP program. What happened was the previous superintendent had it in to update that station, but pushed it off into the CIP into 2013, I believe, is when he
You
pushed
wanna
it.
take the 26,000 some odd dollars, 500, rough it out, you wanna take that from the CIP. However, is the CIP set up for that specific purpose for this generator, or was it just set up?
Not for the generator.
No, see, that's where the issue is. Can
Not
we
for the
do that?
generator.
This isn't for the generator that he's talking. He's talking
This is for the pumps,
The
the
whole system.
VFDs, everything that's listed on that. We are changing that station to a tankless station.
So it was for the booster station
Yeah. I got
This
that.
is-
in the CIP, which is a combination of the pumps and the electrical and the generator all at once. It was a complete upgrade that was planning on being undertaken in 2013, but because of the situation we experienced in December, we need to move ahead on that project.
What-
So the monies are in the CIP for all of this?
There is money, yes,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
But he's looking, Sean's saying he'd like to have approval from the council for an amount not to exceed $33,000 to move forward on
Yes.
the
I
project.
understood that.
Yes.
I understood that.
And I would keep you apprised of what the pricing is before I actually went out and did it. But the reason I'm here is I'd love to wait till I had everything together,
Right.
but I'm
There's an urgency.
there's an urgency, and I'm kind of working on the fly, because every time, well, Ed knows I'm calling him, he's getting tired of me calling him, hey, Ed, there's one more thing.
When he starts replying to your emails, like he does with me. Just kidding.
But I mean,
We
that's,
have Counselor LaBranch has a question.
yes,
Sean, on the Williamson quote that you received.
Yes.
Did they break that down based on materials and then labor, or did they just give you, say it was materials and labor in that one price?
basically, they gave me, if I look at it real quick, they listed out the materials and then gave me a total price.
So the materials were,
They did not, the only thing they broke down is they gave me a price for materials and labor for what this is. And then the one other unit that actually got added on was the SCADA unit, which is $2,500, which ties that into our system now. Because it's cheaper to do it now, to put the panel in now, than it is to put the system in, and then later on, put the panel in later.
now this electrical, is this something that any licensed electrician can do? I mean, this isn't a site-specific type.
We would use the electricians that we generally use, Ewing or
Would it be-
Gemini.
Would it be possible, and I know it's short time and all, but would it be possible to get estimates from them by, say, our next meeting?
Because anything over 5,000 has to go out to bid, but I understand.
And
the
based on
urgency.
what you're giving us a ceiling of 33, I mean, you're allowing 7, I mean,
Yes.
I guess I'd like to see a couple of quotes.
The electrical won't be that much, but when you start pulling the generator and doing some other stuff that may need to be done,
Okay, so the generator would be done by a separate entity, more or less.
they're just going to disconnect it.
So you don't think the electrical will come over 5,000?
No, I don't think so. And if it did, I'd be right in front of you.
And you do have plenty in the CIP, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken. based on-
yes.
yeah.
What I would do is I would call 3 electrical guys and try and get them in here as soon as I can and have them look at it and see who could do the work the quickest and what the cost is.
Can you provide that to the council as well as a copy of the quote of the 26,000?
Yes.
Provide copies to the
Yes, I
council on
can.
that. Because actually, what we're going to be doing tonight is taking you on your word and not seeing any documentation, which in the past, I know Councilor LaBranch and myself have always
Mm-hmm.
said we don't do anything until we actually see the quotes.
Yep,
But
that's
because we
fine.
understand the urgency here.
Yes, that's fine. I mean, I can make copies of the
That's what we're
quotes
gonna do, too.
and send them. But the thing is I have to go back to them now
Yep.
and rework this according to what the engineer has given me now.
Right.
So, and they, yeah, I mean, I was pushing the engineer to get me this stuff yesterday so I could do some of this work, and it just didn't pan out.
Councilor Pulaski?
I'd like to make a motion to authorize not to exceed $33,000 withdrawn from CIP fund for repairs to the Folsom Drive boost, thank you, Folsom Drive Booster Station, with the electrical portion going out to bid, and those bids being provided to the council.
Second?
Okay, discussion, and my discussion would be, are we specifically saying going out to bid, or he's gonna contact?
Oh, he's
three-
gonna-
three
yeah.
electricians and bring it in that way, as opposed to waiting for.
As long as it's under
4
five
weeks
thou,
on the
as
bid
long as it's under
process, you know.
$5,000, sorry.
Right, so long as it's under the 5,000, and as, to that motion, I'd like to add, if I can, is that we do receive all that information in a packet form.
Yeah.
So it can go on the record.
Yeah, that's
I'll
fine.
take that amendment.
Trust me, I spend your money like it's my money. Tight.
Yeah, I want to just add something up here. Okay, you're in that range because with that 20% on top of that 26.5, that 20% would bring you 31.7 700, so you're in that range of 33,000 as a not to exceed.
Yep.
Okay, we have that. Any further discussion? If not, then roll call, please.
Council LeBranch,
Aye.
Council Pulaski,
Aye.
Council Carr,
Aye.
Chairman Glennon.
Aye. Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, I have
Another one.
one other one.
Else?
Another one? Oh, you used up your
Oh,
time.
yeah, he does.
Yeah, I
that's
used up my
right.
time.
Yeah, he does have. That's right. The other one is dated January 14th. Rules for acquiring engineering services, rules approved for Underwood Engineering to perform engineering work for new water tank and water line from tank to Route 108. Is that the one?
That's the one, yes. Been sending out a lot of RFQs and RFPs for the stimulus package. And because we have a lot of work that's come about, so I've sat down and reviewed the process of selecting an engineer. And what I found when we select an engineer to be eligible for money from the state and the EPA, when I say I have such and such a project and this is what's happening, I cannot go out and ask them for any dollar amounts. And that's it, and that's in the memo I sent you.
And that's because the monies are coming from the federal level
Or state,
or state. right?
or state.
That kind of would make sense, because it's not coming from your town budget. In other words, we're not putting the monies out there, so they're going to control the dollar amounts.
Because what has happened is they've gone out and they've certified these engineers as qualified engineers. So if you want to get money from the state, EPA, or feds, you need to follow their process.
Yeah.
And that is what I outlined in the memo, how that all takes place.
That's where you were going with that. Okay.
And as a safety net, the contract, after it is negotiated, goes to the state for approval. And the state looks at that contract and compares it to other projects. And then they approve it. So so on some of the projects where we have no prior work with, I'm sending the projects out according to the state's rules and regulations. But on the water tank and the water line, Underwood has done considerable work on the tank. They did a tank recommendation for a concrete tank. They did a report for the improvements of the tank and the water line. So they're familiar with the easements, they're familiar with the scope of work, they've set budgetary numbers for that work. If I was to go out and follow these guidelines, Underwood is ahead on qualifications already. So if they walked in the door, if I had 3 engineers and I interviewed them according to this, Underwood is already a couple months ahead of everybody else because they've done a preliminary design.
Right.
So I'm here asking you tonight to allow them to do the preliminary, to do the design, not the preliminary design, but the final design of the water tank and water line going from the tank to Route 108.
As part of the stimulus package being proposed to
Correct.
the government. Okay.
Yes.
And if we should fail to get those fundings, then it goes back, I'm assuming, through a bid process on our side.
No, it wouldn't, it wouldn't
no.
necessarily have to,
No.
because the next step that we would be going to is applying to the state revolving fund in order to move this project along. So they've already met the qualifications to do this work. And similarly with.
Based
with-
on those guidelines.
Right. And similarly, their qualifications is as approved by the state, and they're going to do all that work. And whether it's for the stimulus package, if we get that, or whether it's because we're going through the revolving fund to obtain the money, it's still the same thing.
But ultimately, if we approve them tonight, we could, the town, eat that cost if we're not approved through the stimulus.
You're
And that's
gonna,
where I'm a little concerned. I'd like to know some dollar figures of what it would cost to complete that.
well, to do the engineering, it's in here for $62,000.
Oh, here it is, right here.
It's in there.
Our fee to complete the above noted work is $62,000. And that's gonna come from where?
That would come from the capital reserve, again, water account.
Okay, so it's not coming from the actual enterprise fund, it's coming from the CIP.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. And that is one of the things that I believe the CIP committee put forth, was to get the water tank done and that water line.
Well, we all want it done.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. I'm just concerned of that 62,000 and, so let's just say we approve them to do that, but we get the stimulus monies. We're never gonna see that 62,000 come from the stimulus portion because we've already paid for it.
Correct. But what we are going to have is the documents that provide us the opportunity to start digging in the ground according to the requirements of what the stimulus package is.
Shovel-ready.
Shovel-ready.
You've got to be
Yeah, I
shovel-ready.
understand all that.
So
I
that's
understand
the
that.
benefit that we have.
But
I'm just concerned that, again,
Um,
we're going in another
the,
direction.
the thing is if we do this, we need to do this work whether there's a stimulus package or not.
Right.
Correct.
And we are actually on the state loan program right now. We are approved for X amount of dollars to do this project.
We've been approved?
Yes.
We filed the paperwork last year to be part of the program and were approved because we were hoping to do something along that lines in the next fiscal year. So therefore, they put it on, but what they've done is the state has provided this project as part of the stimulus package. So if it comes through, this is going to be money ready and available to us to move forward on that project.
But prior to even knowing about the stimulus package, you're saying we were approved by the state for a loan to go
Yes.
ahead and do this
Yes.
project?
Yes.
We had filed the paperwork
And how
with
much
them.
money were we approved for?
I
I want to say 1.7,
Yeah, I'd have to
$1
look.
million?
I'd have to look. I'd have to look.
Okay, and they're not requiring us, if we go through that loan process and doesn't go through the stimulus package, they're not requiring a bid process?
In this as well, I've already spoke with the state, and because of Underwood's work that they have done,
Okay, because they've
they
already
say it's,
They have no problem.
it's
Right.
silly to go out and
Okay.
go through the qualification
Yeah.
process.
Councilor LaBranche?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that the Newmarket Town Council grant its approval to have Underwood Engineers perform the final design for the water tank and the water line from the tank to Route 108, so as to comply with the stimulus package. Take that as a motion.
I have no problem with that. I'm just waiting for a second.
Second.
That's all I was waiting for. Any further discussion? See none? Roll call.
Council LaBranch.
Aye.
Council Pulaski.
Nay.
Council Carr.
Aye.
Chairman Glennon.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Sean, once again, I thank you for the hard work you're doing.
Thank you.
And do you have any other stimulus packages out there you might want to share with us that we can fly through?
No.
No?
I
Okay.
do have one thing that Ed and I talked about. I'm going to be going through the interview process for the New Village RFQ, which will be in the first part, in the next 2 weeks away. So I have 3 people already sitting on the review committee. If I'm open for a total of 5 people.
Okay.
So if someone wants to be,
Is that going to be part of the stimulus package, or is that something?
Yes.
yeah,
It
we're
would be
trying
part
to
of
get
that.
that into the stimulus
So
package.
another shovel-ready process?
Yes.
Right. And I hope you heard my comments the other day that you guys did a great job out there, because it was right in front of my house.
Oh, thanks.
You did a great job. Yes.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
thank you.
Sean?
And, sorry, Keith, we're gonna get a motion to adjourn. No, come on up.
Drew, how you doing?
Doing well.
Counselor's memo from Keith dated November 14th, 2008. Drew. No, I said counselors. Who do I say from?
Keith.
Keith, I'm sorry.
Common mistake, believe it or
Everybody
not.
does that, don't they?
Or Bruce. I get Bruce a lot.
You get-
I don't know.
You don't look like a Bruce.
Works for me. I have an older brother who's Bruce, so I've just gotten used to it.
I usually get Glenn instead of Dana or Glennon.
There you
It's
go.
Glenn.
want to tell you what I've been called.
Okay. This is a memo, and subject town-owned properties in the vicinity of Leader Lane. And if I get a clear picture here, is what you're basically trying to do is consolidate the land as one large parcel, and then take off what could be used for, take out the wetlands and see what's available to be used for something else, like ball fields or something. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, Drew Kiefaber, 50 Elm Street. The idea behind this, the original kind of stimulus for this is that there's a number of, I'll say, house lots that the town acquired through tax lien when the Leda Lane area was developed. Adjacent to that, there's another town-owned lot that is on the order of 18 and a half acres, which is primarily wetlands and has no road frontage. So that's sort of a, I hesitate to say useless lot, but it's not, it has limited utility. Maybe that's a better way of stating it. One of the suggestions within the open space plan was to look at how can the town best utilize the town-owned properties in that area. And so what I'm trying to do is initiate a discussion and gather interested parties to figure out what is the best thing to do with these properties. One choice may be to consolidate them. Another choice is not. I mean, you know, I don't have a specific recommendation at this point. That's, you know, if I made one, it would be one person's opinion. What I'm trying to do is initiate a discussion between interested parties so that we can figure out what is the best thing to do with these properties for us as a town. And then, based on that, make a recommendation to the town council at some point in the future. I do have, I believe you have tax maps.
Yep.
I also have, Ellen Snyder was kind enough to put together some maps.
Super.
She is actually great at that.
She is
Very good at that.
great at that and many other things as well. There's 3 extra copies for the.
Thank you.
city council.
Let's give them
you.
to the administrator. That'll be his job.
What this map tries to show is the properties in pink are the ones that are town-owned. Should I try and put one up
Yeah,
over here too?
yeah, please.
The properties in pink are the town-owned properties, and you can see the larger lot with the prime wetland overlay. Most of that property is designated as prime wetland. The smaller lots are laid out as if there is a road, as if Leda Lane continues in and then has sort of a little cul-de-sac. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but Leda Lane doesn't actually do that. Leda Lane comes in, and where the road tees off to the right to go to Hersey Lane, the road ends there. Leda Lane ends there as it's currently configured.
At Brandon Drive.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it's called, but that
It is
sounds right.
Brandon.
Okay, thank you. And, you know, obviously, some of those lots have prime wetland designation overlay on them as well. But again, what I would basically propose is to try and initiate a process to figure out what the town should do with these lots. Because as it is now, they're town-owned, and we're not doing anything with them. That may be the right answer, that may be the ultimate answer, but it might not be. And if it's not, then we should have a process to figure out what to do with them.
Question is, the area that has a funny shade of pink, looks like this, is that supposed to indicate grass or something in there?
That's
That's what?
wetland.
That's the
isn't it?
wetlands.
Yeah, wetland.
Yeah, those are wetlands.
Do we have a sense of what the total acreage is here?
I know that the larger parcel that's not shown, that's one larger chunk, I believe is on the order of 18 to 19 acres.
Yep.
Yeah, this says on here 19 and a half.
Sure.
And probably another 5 acres.
Are any of these lots buildable?
Yeah, that's my other question. Looks like
They-
the ones to
they-
the right.
they
I don't know, and I have no
I mean,
way
the
of
town
judging
owns
that. I'm ignorant there.
The
We got them
situation,
through liens, and are they, in other words, are they saleable to bring tax revenue?
correct, but somebody would have to put a road in in order to
So Leader Lane
service
doesn't
it.
actually go down where these,
That's correct.
where it shows it going?
Yep.
Okay, I gotcha.
Correct.
They're actually just a paper street at this point, so
Okay.
to speak.
Okay, so let's look at it this way. This is not a road.
Correct,
Correct.
The road comes in, ends, and it goes out.
correct.
All right. So with this actually is all one parcel, but it was separated out to show that this is not wetlands, but because this is wetlands,
Correct.
right? And these have, indicated with lines, these have already been subdivided into house lots?
They are discrete lots that the town owns,
Okay.
yes.
So I'm going where the vice chair is going is, could we not possibly sell those off? However, you're saying there's no road in there?
Mm-hmm.
Can we put a road in there? Is this all, where's the wetlands end? Is that the delineation area, that white spot?
Where the road would go is what.
Yeah, I mean, the intention of the wetland overlay is to kind of, in a general sense, show where the wetlands are,
It
or
almost
where
seems
they're
to me
delineated,
It
and
was
it,
anticipated.
yeah, it's on the
before
road.
liens were taken, that would have been the road going in there.
Correct.
Okay, so,
yeah, I mean, the development plan, had that road in there, and these lots were subdivided out as discrete lots.
yep.
As the development progressed, at some point, I think it was in the late 80s when the real estate market kind of crashed in this area, the developer still held those lots, didn't see any likelihood of selling them, and rather than paying taxes on them, he said, here you go, town of Newmarket, these are yours.
Oh, okay, so we received those as a tax lien from one individual versus okay.
That's my understanding.
Individual people bought them and gave them up. I was thinking, how would they all do that in a row?
Yeah, and my understanding is that it was the developer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Counselor Pulaski.
I just noticed what this memo mentioned for lots was 30-47 and 30-21 to 30-36. But on the wetlands overlay map,
Yep.
there's two other parcels included as town-owned lots, which is 30-9 and 30-10, which is those two right there.
Those two.
30 dash what?
9 and 10.
Mhm, it does show that.
It does, yeah.
I agree that it does. I can't honestly tell you if there's houses on those or not.
So should we take back the comment about Ellen's expertise in maps? No.
She got overzealous.
I'll stand by it.
She got overzealous with the pink.
Pink brand.
Yeah.
All right, so it actually
Oh,
includes
yeah,
more.
okay.
It does include more, a couple of more.
I just want to make sure that whether those should or should not be included.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure.
Okay.
And that's another thing that should be, looked at and evaluated.
Counselor, Vice Chair Carr.
So what you're really asking for is to come up with some sort of study group for this?
Yes.
See what the best.
I'm
what the best
suggesting
use
that,
is.
I'm suggesting that would be
Suggesting that
a reasonable approach.
Yes, okay. Does seem reasonable.
Yeah, when you say a study committee, are you saying the open space committee people would handle this? Or
No,
are you looking for another committee?
I'm looking
Might not
for
be
interested
best as open
volunteers.
space.
I'm sorry? Open space?
I'm looking for interested volunteers. Yeah, in the letter, I suggest, well, based on who it's sent to, the town administrator, the town council, the town planner, the planning board, the recreation department, and the conservation commission.
How about one person from each?
It would seem to be appropriate to have representatives of all of those folks. It seemed to me it was appropriate to have representatives from each of those, assuming you could find a willing representative.
Right, no, it makes sense to me.
Because,
Well,
Yeah.
as far as the administrative side, Mr. Winalski can himself represent, he can actually ask the town planner to be there and the rec department to be there. The rest of these are volunteers on committees that could volunteer, and I would have no problem if the council thinks it's okay, that I would be part of that group. I think it's a great idea to look at that, I really do. Councilor LaBranch is getting the light on.
I'm just looking at this, and, you know, I think that really the first thing you've got to do is get out there and view the site. You've got to see what it looks like, and, you know, then if you had those various committees around, you know, from different functions in town, from recreation, from council, from planning, you know, you'd probably get a better idea as to what would fit in that area
Exactly.
up there, so. You know, and, I mean, if Chairman Glennon wanted to do it, that's fine. If not, I'd be more than happy to volunteer my time for it, because I think once you get up there and take a look at it, it's going to give you a better idea as to what you can and cannot do. It looks to me like that those parcels may very well be landlocked.
Where the chair does have the prerogative to assign people to a committee, I certainly would assign you
Okay.
to that, absolutely. Because you're interested in the ball fields and things like that, and that's where I'm thinking in the back of my mind.
You know, I mean, as individual parcels, I know Vice Chair Carr is mentioning, well, geez, you know, can we sell them as lots and get them back on the tax? But, you know, in this particular situation, it might be better to look at this as one single area, not as a subdivision. But until you get up there, you don't know.
Or some combination.
Requires
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
I mean,
study.
as Ed mentioned, the road's not there.
Right.
So, you know, does it make sense to put in a road or not? I don't know.
If you even can.
But, right. But for the lots that do have road frontage, maybe it does make sense to sell those. I don't know. That's,
Really,
that's
judging
where it would
from
be good to
this-
have multiple
Is-
people
Is there
look
an
about it
actual
and talk
road
about
at
it
the
and
end of
think
that?
No.
Further
No.
down?
Both
So
drives
really,
up.
there's only, if
It-
the four lot, if the two, if, what is it, 9 and 10?
9 and
9 and 10.
If 9 and 10 is actually part of it, 9 and 10 and, what would it be, what's the other two?
I'm not sure what those other two are, but yeah.
9 and 10 and, the other two, I mean, there's really only four potential buildable lots there from what I can see
Correct.
on this paper, but going there and actually, you know, when the snow's
On
gone,
Brandon Drive.
taking a look at it,
Um,
and it's warmer.
Yeah, and we'll check with the map just to see whether or not what is, and redo the map if
Okay.
necessary.
Officially town-owned.
39 and 30, 30.
Because there is a possibility that, you know, some of them we could sell,
Possibly.
under
Is this yours?
what
No.
Drew mentioned.
And add the money to the open, no.
Wherever it goes.
Okay, so I'm looking for, Councilor Pulaski, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I actually had just a comment. I think the person from the council should be somebody that is going to be on the council after next May.
We don't know that, who's gonna be there or
No,
not.
but-
I don't wanna make that assumption. The person can still be approved by the council to stay on.
That's true.
But
Okay,
I already appointed Councilor LaFrench, so
okay, that's fine.
mute point. I'm looking for a motion to proceed with the recommendation. I think that's how we should put it out there,
From the open space
from the
committee?
open space, yeah.
So moved. That work? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. With,
Second.
oh, come on, I'm not finished with my motion, folks. What I was gonna say, because I don't want this to be open-ended for an indefinite period of time, we are now in January, can you come back to the council conceivably at the council's business meeting, which will be in April? With some type of recommendation?
Sure,
Can you
sure.
do
I,
that?
I mean, I think Mike's point that it would be good to get out there
Yep.
when the ground is not snow-covered
Right.
is a very good one.
Well, if the snow continues this way.
But,
we may-
yeah.
We may have to
Ideally, it would be
move that
nice
to
to.
June or July or.
Right. Ideally, it would be nice to do something in April, but sure.
Do an April workshop?
Would have to be approved at the recommendation.
Yeah, because then we could have a discussion about it.
Yeah, we would have the discussion at the April workshop and then vote on it in May. Or we could vote on it at the workshop, actually, you can do that.
If it's a simple
Yeah,
thing.
I just don't want it to go forever and ever and ever at these committees out there, that would.
Exactly.
that's my
No,
view.
that's an excellent point.
Can you go back to that map, please? I want to just cover something the same as you have. So we have that motion I added that stipulation to it.
Yep, I'm fine with
You're
that.
fine with that?
Yep.
No further discussion? Roll call. Please.
Did you wish to
I just had a real quick question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This
Your light's
shows-
not on, that's why I didn't call you.
No, I didn't. This shows the two lots across from 9 and 10. I guess they're 19 and 20. Are they, they're included in pink, but they're not included in the,
That's what I'm going to do. We're going to look at the tax map, and we'll see what's.
We'll have to, yeah, we'll have
what's
to
They might
confirm
be,
which
or
is
they might
which.
not.
Make a more
Okay.
definitive map.
okay, fine, thank you.
Thank you.
There's 4 lots.
Well, don't go away, we haven't voted on it yet.
Ready? Okay. Council LeBranch?
Aye.
Council Pulaski?
Aye.
Council Carr?
Aye,
Chairman Glennon?
Aye. Now you can go.
Thank you.
Drew.
Take
Have a
care,
good
guys.
night.
thank you.
Thanks.
All right. There's nobody here about the fire truck, so we don't have to discuss that?
Well,
No.
just a quick
Knew you were gonna
update.
do that.
I talked to Tito Boya today. He had a conversation last evening with the chief in Pittsburgh. They are discussing with the fire department in Errol the possible acquisition of the truck to be used for parts. And the chief said that Tito asked that the chief in Pittsburgh keep him informed. They're looking to just transfer the truck to there. There'd be no sale, so there wouldn't have to be any proceeds or anything like that. So he will get back with further information as he knows more. But they're still, the town of Errol is interested in the vehicle.
All right, Can you,
4 parts.
4 parts.
can you
Yes.
convey to Mr. Boulier that the council would like at its next business meeting, which will be February, some definitive information so we can make a decision, because this seems to be on the agenda, every other month or something, so I'd like to get this behind us, either
A
we're
lot of
going.
work for something you're gonna give away.
I think that,
I mean, we end up by giving it away, I'm sure, but I just tired of having it come back, and we don't do anything.
well, as Tito mentioned, they don't tend to move very quickly up there.
It's
So-
cold,
It's cold, yes.
it's
Yeah.
cold up there, nobody
But
wants to.
I'm sure he,
Snowbound.
watching the program, will know that keep
Yeah.
on top of this.
Okay, and I know I made a statement earlier that I'd like to move this, but I'm gonna seek council's approval on the nominations, because some of the councilors in their discussion this evening asked to have the nominations, and there were more than one nomination, so I just figure we'll push them all to the workshop in February.
The one nomination for health officer,
That one we should
Yeah.
do, yes.
we should do tonight
Yeah,
because
you're
that has
right.
already expired.
Yeah, you should.
But
you're
the
right.
others, I have no problem with.
And nobody wants to do this besides him, huh?
Correct, Mundo.
Okay. Let's move on that one. Somebody want to make that motion to,
I'll make a motion to nominate Dan Vincent to be our health officer.
Second?
okay. There's no further discussion. Let's do a roll call. No other candidate either, so.
Council LeBranch,
Aye.
Council Pulaski,
Aye.
Council Carr,
Aye.
Chairman Glennon.
Aye. Okay, so. Review of standing committees. Counselor LeBranch?
Budget Committee, we're obviously into the municipal budget now. I actually requested from the chair of the Budget Committee today if I could get some sense of feeling from the Budget Committee so that when we go into our discussions next week, we might have an idea what they might be looking for. I think we've got a bare bones budget here, I feel. And I'd like to just know that the Budget Committee feels the same way that we do on it. So I don't know if we're going to actually be able to have a meeting prior to our Wednesday meeting or not to discuss it and see if they're looking, or they don't like this or they don't like that, or they're in favor of this or that or whatever. But that's what I've attempted to do as a council rep, just to get a feel for it.
That's a great move.
CIP committee, basically, from my perspective, we're in hibernation now. I mean, we've done the document, we've got it set. I don't think there's too many issues with it. I think the council agrees pretty much with what we've got on the CIP. I think the budget committee hopefully will go along with it also, so that's pretty much taken care of.
How was the perception that you gave to us received by the Budget Committee on reducing the budget by 50% across the board? Was that?
It was understood, and I've stressed, and I even stressed it on Saturday's meeting, that when we did discuss the CIP, Leo Fillion, who's the chair of the CIP, went through the whole thing, item by item, just so that everybody understood. But I stressed the fact that I thought that this was a 2-year process, and that the taxpayers should be prepared that within 2 years, these numbers are going to jump up probably considerably just to get caught up to where we should be. You know, the CIP is a necessity. We saw that tonight with Sean, how those dollars are valuable when push comes to shove. It's nice to have that money there. You know, but I think basically we're looking for everybody to hold on to something, you know, a piece of equipment for an extra year or, you know, whatever. So for the most part, I think the Budget Committee was happy with it. I assume that the council is happy with it, and we'll just go from there. The Energy Committee, I tentatively have a meeting for next Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock. And all we're basically going to do is get together and see if we can come up with some kind of a schedule, because it's tough to get a meeting organized. Everybody's got different schedules, so
Okay.
we'll work on that. And that's it, unless there's any questions.
And I do want to take the opportunity to thank you for filling in for me on Saturday. I understand that things went pretty well. You had them out of here.
We were out here a little after 1, I think.
Yep. Very good. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I did not have a conversation with Councilor Bergeron. We responded back and forth by email, but I have asked him at the council meeting dated 12/18/08, which is a month ago, to check with the school board and see if their intentions are to have a joint meeting at the request of the council chair, to have a meeting with them to discuss some cost-saving measures that we could be looking at. And we have not gotten a response. I'm going to request that the town administrator have a conversation with the superintendent, so that message can be relayed to the chairman of the school board, because I would like something in writing to indicate whether they are or they are not. Because our responsibility is to try to have meetings with joint committees, as what we did with the planning board, along with the M1 and the historical district. And we've always had a joint meeting with the school board at least once, sometimes twice a year. We've not had that. So if they're not, to protect the council and the council's interest, I would like a response back to why. If yes, what is the date? If no, why? And I will have a conversation with Councilor Bergeron in regards to the conservation people looking at the trees for the downtown. We've not heard anything. And my understanding, talking with Julie, with the Riverwalk Committee, where are we with the trees? Because the trees are going to have to be planted sometime in the spring, and they have to be ordered, they have to be voted on. There's a process there, and I would like to have some feedback. So if you see him before I do, convey that to him if he's watching tonight. And I know he's got a lot of things he's got going on too, so. Planning Board, Vice Chair.
We met last night. The main thing was working on updated rules for how the planning board works and when things should be given to us and how much lead time we need to allow us to, I guess there's been a situation where people will come in and drop plans on the planner's desk and say, that's for tonight. And she hasn't had time to look at them. It slows everybody up. So we're trying to set up some rules with it that have a schedule that people should meet, so that both the members, the planner gets to review it all, and also the members get to see it ahead of time. And next week, there's a meeting on the Historic District on Tuesday night, at 7 o'clock here. And otherwise, I think you have some minutes in the book.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Councilor Quarks on the Heritage Advisory. Her and I are both members. She as the council rep, I as an appointed member. We both missed that last meeting because we were upstairs in the finance office having a meeting non-public. So we don't have the details, but what I'm going to say here is, even if a counselor cannot attend a meeting, it is incumbent upon them to at least find out what happened at those meetings and then come back to the council with that information, even though they're not there. Does that make sense? Okay. So, neither one of her or I were there, and we're dealing with the budget, but I do have a call into Judy Ryan. Her and I spoke the other night, and we got cut off because I had another call coming in to find out what was going on, what happened. So I will brief the council at a later date, or the Councilor Quacks can do that. Municipal Audit Committee, I don't believe there's been a meeting set up, but in the past, I've asked the council rep to work with that committee, to work with the town administrator, to get that grid that the previous chair, Brian Hart, had put together and spent a lot of time, and quite honestly, I'm getting very frustrated that that's not moving forward. And I really would like to see some action taken, because we as the council have to work on that.
Yep. And Don Parnell and I have been working on that.
Okay, all right, but it needs to go to this committee, and I'll reaffirm that with Councilor Quarks. And Councilor Pulaski?
Channel 13 committee has not met. There haven't been any issues to discuss. The Highway Public Safety Committee did meet. We talked about downtown parking on the Morelli's block, possibly doing 15 minutes. Discussion pretty much turned to some other problems we're having downtown with visibility coming out of Church? Or, no, that's Chapel.
Coming out of the post office.
Yes, Chapel is the one closest to Big Bean, correct?
Mike, you live on, what street is off of yours?
I'm on Spring Chapel. Chapel's right there.
Chapel.
Okay. The visibility coming out of Chapel Street, a suggestion had been made to possibly change the post office direction. Representative from the post office was here. That pretty much is not an option for right now. We talked about speed limits downtown and found out that the minimum speed limit is 30 miles an hour. We talked about possibly reducing speed limit through downtown to 20 miles an hour, and we discussed possible options of how to go about getting it down to 20. And I understand Chief Sear is supposed to be looking into that.
Is that true?
We discussed.
Yes, and we're also looking to have an engineering study done to see, relative to whether we have sufficient information to be able to approach the state and say, this is why we should lower the speed limit down to 20 miles an hour. It was recommended that Diane Hardy, the planner, meet with the folks from Underwood who did the plan
Yeah, I was
downtown,
gonna suggest
the
that.
design, so that way they can have a conversation to see if there is sufficient information there to be able to approach the state with information.
Are we having a problem with people speeding through town? Because that's why we put reduced the width of that. We put the
Bump
parking,
outs.
we put the
Bump outs.
bump outs, and we put the sidewalks in there. So are we still
The-
having a problem?
The speed through downtown, I stop at downtown every morning, and getting in and out of my car is a major hassle. And part of it is speed. It is definitely the speed of the motors coming through town, which is why the conversation had turned to speed through downtown.
And that in and of itself would help the possibility of keeping the flow of traffic in the post office the way it is, because people will be able to exit Chapel Street and feel that they can get into traffic without trying to pull out as quickly as possible and create a hazard.
Perhaps coming out of Chapel Street onto 108, my thought just now, as I think of it, should probably be only a right-hand turn only.
We discussed that.
We discussed that. It's not really a major option.
Well, the safety.
Even with that, you still have to, if there's a big truck there, you still can't see.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so when do you expect to have a report, a recommendation to the council?
Probably next meeting.
You know, probably, we need to have, once Diane has had the opportunity to speak with the folks at Underwood Engineering, we can then have a meeting and talk what those results are.
So I'm going to put down here possible for next meeting.
Okay.
If nothing else, we should have an update to where you are on that.
Next workshop, you mean? February workshop?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, when we do the review of standing committees. Main Street?
Main Street Committee, I was unable to attend their last meeting because we were in council meeting.
Right, okay. I would like to take exception with your comment on the Channel 13 that there was nothing to discuss, because going back to the minutes of the meeting of 11:25, the workshop, that would be page 3. As I find out what I did with it. 11:25, this December. Didn't we not start, oh, they're in the minutes. Oh, the minutes are over here, okay. Okay, going back, actually, it's the, here it is, right here. Okay, November 25th workshop meeting, when we went over the standing committees. Your comment was, okay. Channel 13, Councilor Pulaski noted they have finalized a process to submit slides. He explained the process. There was a 2-week lead time for slide submissions. Emergency slides are handled differently. Chairman Glennon asked that the policy be submitted to the town council for approval. He felt it would be helpful to include a list of appropriate and inappropriate things so there was a better understanding. He noted he had spoken with Administrator Winowski regarding keeping track of funds from reproducing DVDs. There needs to be a policy to trace how a request for copy of DVDs is handled, followed by where the money goes. He's addressed that. My point here is that you slide process, and we want to get that approved by the council. So when you say there was no need to meet, and I
Okay.
believe you are the chairman,
Yes.
okay, please
I will
get that
a
to the
meeting
council.
called and get that to the council.
Okay, that's the point I wanted to make, and thank you. Downtown tip for Councilman Minicelli, we spoke this evening. He's indicated there wasn't a meeting. Open space, I believe there was a meeting, but we really didn't go too much into it. And the Veterans Memorial Trust, Mrs. Rosa was here this evening to give us that update. Now, my update as chairman of the Riverwalk Committee, you all got a copy of the easement, so we have the official easement for Water Street. Julie Glover, I had asked her to take the task of writing a synopsis of where the Riverwalk is and that whole process, so it can be included in the annual report like all other committees. And if I am correct, all of you have received a memo from Kathy Castle, the Administrative Secretary, requesting a report from your committees, so it can be included in the annual report, which, by the way, is due tomorrow. So if you haven't, as members of the committee, as council reps, then I would suggest you get a hold of Kathy right away and find out when the definitive date is, because if I know Kathy, it may be tomorrow, but it could be one day next week. But she needs to review it, she needs to edit if it needs to be edited, and that whole process, so, please, have a conversation with her. And going back to the Riverwalk, Julie, I believe it's either Julie or Diane, one of them is going, and the other problem we had that night is we didn't have a quorum, because there were two people that couldn't make it, and one had resigned. Two people? Two people couldn't make it, one showed up late, and one had resigned. And Brett Johnson had resigned, we accepted his resignation regretfully, and he did a great job, and we appreciate his work. So, the four of us that were there, we just had a general conversation. We looked at some amenities that were being recommended by the design of Charles Hoyt. We haven't made any final plans on that. We're now going to work with the architect for the Water Street portion of this, and the reason why that was on the hold, because we didn't want to do anything until we knew we had an easement. We have the easement, so they're going forward with that. And we're hoping that a lot of this, it will come before the council for final approval, and we're hoping that we can get this, done through midsummer, I would say, probably at this point. We are behind, but we're behind because of the easement problem that we had. And I do want to thank Julie for the great job she's done in getting that done. And that's all I have on that. So, let's move on to, are we under old business? Yes. Old business and new business. Anybody have anything? Okay, I have one, and this is probably new business. I received a call. Mr. Winossi, when did you call me? Friday morning about the power? Was that Thursday? Friday? I can't remember now.
Probably Friday.
Friday? Okay. I received a call from the administrator early in the morning indicating that the power had gone out from the railroad tracks towards Durham, and it affected, I don't know, something around 7,000 people, I think.
17,000.
17,000.
1,700 people.
1,700 people, okay, in various towns, and I appreciate that call. However, I also got a call as a matter of protocol from Candace Jarvis, and explaining what processes she had to do, and I guess the fire station was open for a couple of people from Ham Street that were cold and had no power and so on, and some food was provided for them. But in the conversation we had, and I want to set up a meeting with you and her and myself to look at this, one of the Councilor Quox, had asked for a copy of the emergency process. And Candace Jarvis and I spoke about that. She made it very, very clear that that's an old one. She has been working on a new one with the administrator. So for people who may be looking at it or have a copy of it, that's an old one. It's being updated. She's working on it, and we'll have some discussion on that. But one of the things that really struck me was, I remember during the ice storm that we had an emergency generator which dates back to 1969, and that was a used one from FEMA from the previous problem. That is broken, it's damaged, all kinds of problems with it. There was a pump, there was a motor, there was something being needed. It's being basically band-aided to try to meet the challenges that we will have if we have another emergency situation that we need a generator. So she's looking at some pricing on a generator, and right now we're estimating it to be somewhere around $24,000. I know, according to Candace, that the fire department, or whoever those powers to be in the background, are looking at parts from different areas to start trying to piece this thing back together. I want the council to think, I think it's time to bite the bullet and put this into either CIP or, I mean, we need it now, so we need to put it in the budget somehow, work it through. And that's the conversation I had with Candace, so that's the conversation we need to have, and the council needs to have at some point, because emergency things, you don't want to depend on them when you need them, and you know they're not gonna work, because you know in advance that they're old, they're falling apart, you band-aided it before, you're trying to bring it together. If anything we need, that's what we need, is something like that. And I asked her what her budget was. She indicated her budget is $1,500. I said, who makes your budget? I don't make the budget. It comes from this area, the administrative side. I don't know if you do it, but it comes from the administrative side. So I guess we need some revamping of that whole emergency process, how it works. And I believe I had asked you at one time, and even that has changed, what is the process? I know she has a process she follows, which is to notify the town administrator when there's an emergency. As a matter of protocol, the chair gets a call, and then there's other things that fall in place. What I'd like to see on Channel 13 and on the website, and, you know, I'm not foolish enough to realize that if the power goes out, you don't have that access. But like in an ice storm, some people got the power back around within 6 hours. If you can get to Channel 13 and look and see where the steps are you need to follow, if you need this, you need that, you may be able to go and help one of your neighbors, or help somebody across the town, and say, well, this is what you got to do. I would like to see something that shows, if this is what happens, you call here, you call there, you do this, you do that, kind of a step process. Now, if she has something like that, it's old, they're working on it, but I'd like to see that on Channel 13, which is something I believe the Channel 13 committee at some point should discuss too. So that's just a point I wanted to make, and Councilor Pulaski.
As far as the generator goes, Sean was here earlier tonight and mentioned that they're going to be pulling a generator from the Folsom Street powerhouse. Size requirements might be looked at to see if that might be an alternative.
Was that damaged though, or was that just
No,
because it wasn't big enough?
Undersized.
It's not big
Big
enough.
All right,
It's undersized.
that's a good point, very good point.
But that might,
That would be a small one, but how much it would power at the community center, I don't know.
Yeah, so
We'd have to
that's
look
the
at
other
that.
thing.
that's might be
Worth
something
looking at.
worth investigating anyway.
Yep.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. Councilor LaBranche?
That generator is at the community center?
Yes.
That, I guess my question is, does that fall specifically under the guidelines of emergency services, or would that fall potentially under buildings and grounds, to the extent that we could take some CIP funds from the rec department to purchase a new unit?
That's where it's housed.
It would, in my understanding, it would fall under building and grounds, because you have one at, a generator at the police station, you have one at the fire department, they had one at the, albeit an old one that has broken down, at the community center. The funds could come from that. I mean, I would think that that's what we'd be building the cost into for.
I mean, you know, being on a CIP, I know what the balance is there, and there is sufficient funds there to go out even at the price that we've been quoted this evening. So, I mean, I'd like, you know, I think that's something that doesn't have to be a one-year budget item. I think it can just come right out of the CIP.
Come out of the CIP.
And I also agree with Councilor Plosky that if that is a usable generator, if the capacity is well enough to
Yeah.
do what needs to be done, you
Yeah.
know, that's an even better way of doing it.
Right, I
But,
agree.
you know, I mean, there's two options as opposed to having to bite the bullet all in 1 year.
Okay, so moving that thought process down to item number 8, councilors prioritize project for the administrator, we could list that as one of those and ask for a report back at, say, at the, you need
We'll
the,
start checking into it, so we
Yeah.
can talk about it at the budget meeting on Wednesday.
right, so can you have something for us by Wednesday?
That's, yeah.
Okay, like a cost and all of this, and where the money's gonna come from, and whether the other one will fit and meet the needs?
This equipment is as old as they claim it was. Chances are the one that's sitting in that pump house will be sufficient to do the job,
Yeah.
if they can get it out of there in one piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if, you know, we'd have
If it
to
meets
look at,
the-
see what it's gonna power. If it's sort of
Exactly, right.
a unit that will power, you know,
A
your
refrigerator
house.
and that's it, you know.
Right, I
yeah.
mean, it's not going to be
Yeah.
worth our while. We have to, you know, I think we're looking around, you know, a price tag of between $20,000 to $30,000 in order to
Right.
provide
Maybe,
enough
yes.
electrical energy to
Because when-
power the
when
community.
you-
It gets sold then, and we use the funds to,
to put towards. yeah,
Well,
okay.
the one that we have right now has it's the radiator that kicked out on it. It's a very old vintage, you
No, I
know.
meant the one at the
Pumping
booster
station, booster station.
Well, you know, I mean, we might want to just keep that around so that if we need to haul it to one of the other lift stations or something like that for power, you know, we have the ability to do that.
Do we have anything at Town Hall?
No, we don't. That's something we should look at down the line,
Okay, then I'll be next for new business.
so.
Okay, that's a
And
good point.
We
Yeah.
should have something here.
Right.
It's just another location to be able to house people.
Yeah, because with the rec department, it's not going to be used, like say, in one room. It's going to be used, on my understanding, for the entire building.
Right.
All the lights, the kitchen to serve the people, the heat, to keep them warm. So I'm suspecting the one at the booster station may not meet that requirement. But anyways, if you could give us that feedback so we can appropriate it in the budget. And your new business? Go ahead, Councilor Hildebrand. I thought this thing flew, that's why, and I'm thinking, I didn't touch it, where did it go?
As far as a generator for this facility, and I'm not meaning to put the administrator on the spot here, but Saturday's budget meeting was, to say the least, a little nippy in here. Considering we started the day at, I believe, 54 degrees, and at 1 o'clock, which was some 5 hours later,
We were at
we were
58.
at 58. You know, I appreciate all the efforts we've done to try to save and stuff, but there's got to be some way to override that system, and if it was because of the power outage, you know, that's all the more reason to perhaps have some kind of a backup system to make sure, because,
Yep.
it just, when you see people sitting here in jackets for a meeting, and we're discussing the town's financial situation, it's, just doesn't set well with me. You know, so I apologize for bringing it up, but I think it's something that, you know, needs to be addressed.
No, it was, you know, I got in here at 7 o'clock, and the first thing I did was walk into this room and saw that it was 55, and I punched it up to 72.
It just never
And
got there.
it never got that high, and even the other rooms that I went into were equally as cold. You
We
know,
went outside to warm up. Sorry, Ed.
you know, that's fine. I mean, you know, the first thing I did when I walked into the town hall on Tuesday, everything was back to where it should be, you know, but it took that long to get the building back.
Well, that-
And it was a really cold day.
Yeah, and that happened to
That was the
me.
other thing that was
Yeah.
hurting us.
When you called me that morning, I think my power came on at 5:30, and I went downstairs, and it was freezing.
Yeah.
And I ended up by turning my thermostat on to 78 at 7 o'clock in the morning, and at 9 o'clock, I was reading 50 degrees in the house. And it took actually until about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon before I reached the temperature of 68 in the house. That's what happened, because the cool air was able to come right through the brick.
See, I guess the main problem I've got is this is on its own zone. I mean, it has its
Yep.
own thermostat. So even though the rest of the building could have been 50 degrees,
Yeah,
we
this
wouldn't
is-
have had an issue with it, but, you know, this room should have been up
Yeah.
at least to 65 by the time we left here, and
It wasn't, huh?
and there
Especially
was,
with all the hot air that was.
there was a lot of that, yeah. Come on, I wasn't gonna say that you were talking all day.
Councilor Pulaski.
And speaking of the power failure, thank you, Administrator Winowski, for contacting PSNH. I did not appreciate the response we got from them. I believe the response was, I don't have the memo in front of me, was that it was out for 2 hours from 5:15 to 7:15, when in reality it was out for 3 hours from 2:30 in the morning till 5:30 in the morning.
No, is it more than that?
Yeah, some people lost it.
And some people were
Everybody,
People
it
lost it at
seemed everybody
midnight.
lost the power sometime around 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
And-
sporadic.
But it was brief.
Yep.
And then later on, it went out, and my understanding was like at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Candy called me at 5 o'clock, and then I talked to her just after 7, and she had said, oh, the power had just come on. So it was for a much longer period of time
But
than,
I
I
did
think
not.
everybody was sleeping at that point, so.
If we hadn't
That's when
had
they-
the ice storm before, I don't think people would have reacted the way they did. But
I
it
did
was-
not
it was
appreciate
scary.
the misinformation we got from PSNH. especially
I
after,
caught that too, but I.
especially
didn't think
all the
anything really
troubles
out of it.
that,
Well,
all of the
I had
power
sent her an
companies
email
had.
and asked her if she could give me an update as to what had happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any new business? Okay, on item number 8, Town Administrator's Report, the Section A, Council Prioritizing Project. I want the council to come back at the next meeting with some recommendations of what we're gonna put in there. I know we discussed it in the review process. Some of this, Mr. Winalski has already taken initiative and done it, but we may want to be adding it and following it through to its completion. And I think that was what our intent was. Is that correct? Okay. So, the other councils, if you're listening, please come back. And Administrator, you have your report? You want to do that, or?
Just quickly go over a few things here.
Sure.
On the cell tower, because that was a request, the last evening, the planning board met with the attorney for Verizon,
Yeah, I
who
missed
had
that.
requested an extension of the timeframe for the conditions of approval that the planning board had granted back in May, but they also lapsed. They also presented, they also provided a bond for the removal of the antennas if and when they cease service at some point. And they are looking to submit a revised plan, and they are hoping to get something going in the very near future. When, not sure yet, because there's certain conditions they have to meet on the planning board level to take care of that. So that's still moving forward.
Okay, a question on that.
Yep.
It's my understanding that the planning board removed the requirement of a bond?
No, that's one of the things they provided.
Oh, was a bond.
They had conditional approval and it ran out. They didn't realize it had, so.
Okay. But I thought somebody had told me last night that, because I didn't, somebody called me and said, look at what's happening on the planning board, so I turned it on, and I missed the section they wanted me to see, but I thought, in the conversation with this individual, something about bond was removed, it was no longer
No,
required?
it's a bond to remove the antennas.
Yeah.
If Verizon
Technology changes.
technology changes and Verizon says, we're going away,
Mhm.
and they leave the antennas up there, we have money to remove the antennas. So
Okay,
we're not bearing a cost. There's a cost for us to take care of that.
okay, I understand that now, all right.
The New Village project, as Sean Gregg had mentioned earlier, that within the next 2 weeks, we're going to have the RFQs, and he's looking to set up a committee to select the engineering firm so we can get that project out, designed and ready to be undertaken if we get the stimulus money.
Yeah, he's looking for a committee to review the
Engineers.
engineers' applicants that come through.
Right. He's going to select it down to 5 individuals that they would select for the committee to interview.
And he's got
From
3
there.
now.
Well, he's got more than 3. He doesn't, he's got 3 people on the committee to interview
Right,
the engineers.
but he would like to have 5.
He wants
you
to
said.
have 2 more people.
Right, okay.
And, but he's expecting probably around 15 proposals coming
Oh,
in.
okay.
For
All right.
his review, he'll select that, he'll whittle that down to 5
Okay,
that they'll interview and then make a selection from there.
okay. Where Counselor LaBranch is going to do the Leader Lane thing as a committee, then I will step up to the plate and be part of that committee for Sean. And the reason why I would want to do that, because I was also, when we selected the engineer for the downtown project, I was part of that committee. We went to the Sheraton and we interviewed something like 5 or 6 different engineering firms. So if the council's okay with that, then that's the area that I would like to work with Sean on. Okay.
The drainage study, there was a request, at this point in time, Julie Glover, Rick Malasky, and Phil McDonald appeared before the State Natural Resources Agency Coordination Committee back in December. They presented a series of proposals, which didn't seem to meet too enthusiastically by the committee. They've taken a sort of a step back, and Phil McDonald provided the the council with sort of an update of information as to the next steps they intend to take, and are planning to come to the council's meeting on the 18th, which is the workshop, to have some discussion with the council as to the plans that they are looking at the present time. And I provided the council with sort of the 44-page report that they provided to the Natural Resource Committee for their review and get feedback on. Then the last thing that I have is there was a request of convening the administrative chairs of the chairs of administrative committees. And under the charter, it says that in section 11.1E, that in February, the council shall bring the chairs of all standing town committees to review significant actions taken by the committee and projects under discussion and anticipated activity for the coming year. I've listed all of the different committees and have suggested that the council possible consideration of February 11th, which is a Wednesday evening, to invite everybody, the chairs of the committees, to come forward and meet with the council to talk about this, to meet the obligation that is outlined in the charter, and looking for some feedback.
I read that memo, and I appreciate you doing that. However, I would like to defer that date by the council for, the reason for that is I think I would like to have a conversation with you and with the vice chair in our bi-weekly staffing. That if you want to kind of set it tentatively, what I had more in mind, that this might want to be some planning to be done, because if you folks remember back in, I don't know what it was, August, when I had proposed as one of our goals, when we all put our goals together, was to have this type of scenario, and I was going with the premise that it was in the charter and we needed to do that, but I wanted it to be more of a Saturday type thing where we brought the people together, we asked them specifically, what is it they're doing, where are they in projects, what assistance can they get? By having this dialogue, we might be seeing other committees say, well, we can assist here, we can help, we're doing this, we're doing that. In addition to that, I wanted to bring a individual in from Exeter who had put on public broadcast, excellent DVD. And there was a resident here in town who knows the individual personally, and see if he would be willing to come in. And what it is it's a view of the entire state of New Hampshire and what all towns are doing, where they're running into roadblocks, some suggestions how to go around these roadblocks. And actually, on the area view that they did, showed Newmarket and what Newmarket had been doing with the mills, how successful it was. And he's well recognized and known throughout the entire state and New England, and he lives in Exeter, and I'd like to contact him to have that done and have this discussion with all of these board members, and basically the chairmans, but I'd also like to have the public to participate, and also like to have any members of these committees to be able to sit and have that conversation. So I think when you and I talked about it, and I remember talking with Julie Glover about it, we initially thought it might be I think somebody said a 2-day thing, and I said, no, I don't really want a 2-day thing. I'd like to do it in the morning, so you get started at 9 o'clock and be done, say, around 1 o'clock, and everybody present their ideas. And this could be an annual thing, so we all have an idea, because I sit in some of these meetings and I hear somebody say, well, gee, I didn't know that. They're doing that. And let's just take an example of the Riverwalk. There may be some things, we're lucky to have Rick on this, and Julie and Diane. And there are some things that we thought we'd have to go out to bid. And Rick would say, no, I think I can do that. You know, there may be some things, conservation or the War Memorial Veterans people that are doing, that some ideas can be tossed out, and we can reduce some of that cost that could be done in-house. That's, and also project long-term what some of these goals are that people have on their committees and what the committees are doing. So That's the conversation I want to have with you. So I don't think having it on the Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, and getting out at 10 o'clock is going to be that productive, because I think we're going to be putting them in a situation where they got to give a brief, quick 5-minute answer on what they're doing, and that's not what I'm looking for. I think it needs to be a nice conversation. That makes sense, what I said?
I was looking back for feedback from
Yeah.
the council.
Councilor LaBranche?
I understand the concept of a Saturday, but I know, based on some of the committees that I've been part of in the past, and even the council, you're still dealing with a lot of volunteers, and if they, it's tough to give up a Saturday. And I think that's probably the only downfall I see with what you I understand what the concept is, and I agree with it, but I don't know if we might be in a situation where we'd start the meeting earlier on an evening, like, maybe a 5 o'clock deal or a 6 o'clock deal, and still get it done during a weeknight. But, it's just, like I say, the Saturday, realizing that, even though counselors get paid, it's still, a volunteer position more or less, and it's tough to give up a Saturday.
Actually, I'm going to say right now, I would not have a problem with that, so long as we're not saying to them, you have 5 minutes, you got to present this, and that is not productive. If we started at 5 o'clock and maybe just throw a little luncheon or something here for them, volunteers, and take it out of the council's contingency fund, and really be able to focus on areas.
We cut the contingency on Saturday, so.
Oh, did you? Well,
No,
still-
and because the only downside to that is all of a sudden at, this time of the evening, people start looking at the clock and you're not as productive. So,
Right.
It has its downfalls of doing it during the week, but I think you're apt to have people a little more gung-ho and a little more ready to go if it were on a weeknight, especially, from Budget Committee, Planning Board, Conservation,
And we could say to each one of them, 20 minutes to present you. I just don't want them to feel that they're going to come in and, blurp, that's it. And you really don't know what they're doing. So we can invite the public and have a discussion and say, like the Riverwalk, I'm using them again, we're in phase 3, phase 4 would be this, phase 5 would be that, this is being projected out, this is what some of the things we're running into, and have a dialogue, that's the word I'm trying to use, have a real meaningful dialogue with these people.
And actually, if you stop and think about the way that we conducted the joint budget committee meetings, council with them, it was good, it was open, it was kind of a loose atmosphere, you just raise your hand and talk, so, that worked, and I think that could work.
That's the atmosphere I'm trying to get at, yes.
Yeah, I think that could work on an evening, too. 5:30, 6 o'clock start time, and you could still potentially get it done.
Yep,
Could
okay.
have pizzas brought in, sodas, people can,
The
not
only
feel
way-
like you're missing any,
Yeah.
having a meal.
The only requirement will be,
Stuff like
Mr.
that.
Administrator, is that we have heat in this building.
Yes.
in
We'd
this
have it
room.
downstairs.
Oh,
Where
okay,
we could
downstairs.
light the fireplace and.
Okay. All right, is the council agreeable to that? You have a question?
I think you're talking about two different things here. I think Mr. Winowski's, what he was going for was what he was required to do by the charter. Is that correct? That this is something that has to be done annually, that you meet that these people sit together and basically give an overview. And what you're
that's-
talking
that's-
about,
no,
Mr.
it's the
Chairman,
same thing.
is something, well, it is, but his is a shorter one. Yours is a larger one. Yours is a.
Well, it doesn't say in the charter what size it would be.
No, I
It's just
know.
you have
I
that
know, but
conversation.
you could actually have both of them. You could have his as an overview to get people started and then go to a larger one. But
Could all-
I just think you're
could
talking
all-
about two different things.
What I
No, I
did
don't think
was,
so.
I looked at the charter as to the town administrator, it said that shall convene the chairs of the administrative committees.
Right.
So, under the charter, in section 11, it describes administrative committees, and at the very end, is a section that I put in, which is requirement of the council in February to hold a meeting.
Yep.
So it's sort of like the same thing.
It could, yeah, it's
And it's
a
just
question of
it's-
scale is what it
Yeah,
really
and
is.
it serves the same purpose of getting the voices of the chairs and bringing the committees together to have that conversation about,
Right.
just
And
as
that's,
chairman.
that's where I'm talking about. I'm not trying to make it anything more elaborate. I just don't want them to feel that it's a 5-minute thing, because there's going to be some dialogue, and I want to engage that dialogue with the council and with the various committees back and forth. Very similar, you hit the nail on the head when you said what we did on the budget committee side, inviting the budget committee. And to make it very clear that everybody participates, everybody talks, you got a question, raise your hand, because I had heard, I guess I won't say where I heard it, but I heard it more than once, that the budget committee were concerned, some of the members, that they were coming to the council's meeting as a guest, and they were not going to be able to participate and ask questions. And when I spoke to the chair of the budget committee, I said, absolutely not. And that's why I made that clear that day, that participate, you need to participate. The only requirement is you raise your hand, the council uses the buttons, but certainly wanted to engage in a dialogue, and that's what I think is where I'm going with this, yes. So we'll work together and set this up?
Sure.
Okay. And do you still want to, is February 11th a workshop?
No, February is in between the business and the workshop.
Oh, okay, okay. I gotta put that in my book, okay.
I figured that was the best date because nobody else seems to have a meeting on a Wednesday evening. It might be a good opportunity to, if they do, it's few and far between because the council meets on the 1st and 3rd and the 2nd and 4th are open, but.
Actually, I think the Riverwalk Committee has a meeting that weekend.
The budget committee, when will they?
Well,
Or
at this
they get
time of the
them.
year, it's one of those things that the budget committee, I know in having some emails with Mrs. Caprioli today, because I had set the schedule, which was what I inherited, I noted to her, it's, the only thing that, once the council makes their recommendations, we'll get those changes into the budget, and they go to the budget committee, and the only thing they have to be aware of is the dates for posting of the public hearings and the deliberative sessions. So they're able to, they don't have to meet on a Saturday. They can meet during the week 3 or 4 times if that's what they wish to do during the next few weeks, so.
Well, while we're on that subject, we're meeting next Wednesday, the council. Will you have for the council updated versions? Okay,
We're looking to complete that so that the changes to the budget you'll have for this weekend.
okay, and will we have,
Look at it with information as to what the numbers are at the bottom and stuff like that.
okay, and we'll have the estimated, projected, whatever you want to use for terminology, the anticipated revenues.
Correct.
Okay. And will we have, which I think we already have, is where we are currently with the previous projection on the revenue side and where we're short?
Don is providing that.
Okay. Because I had a discussion with him the other day, and some areas we're going to be hurting. So, okay. And I have nothing else. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Are you all set on your report?
Yeah, the other thing that I had was
I'm
for
sorry.
a non-public session for the council to
Tonight?
discuss. No, not tonight,
Oh, okay.
but we should do it soon,
Okay.
when everybody's feeling better.
Okay.
Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. What's the non-public on? Are we off the air?